again. Welcome back to Let's Talk Terror. I'm Celia, and today I'm speaking with Enric Rhoades, the creator behind indie sensation Krackers. Now, this Sadist of Pennsville is a deranged chemist whose twisted experiments collide with three unsuspecting victims. It's a classic mad scientist horror with modern indie filmmaking, a modest budget, and a DIY spirit. So sit back and relax as we talk about the inspiration behind John C. Krackers and what's next for filmmaker Enric Rhoades. Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you,
I'm
Celia?
doing well. It's Monday. Um, but what I want to do is have you introduce yourself to the crowd. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
A lot to digest right there. I can tell you that. Huh. Oh boy. How much time do you got? Oh my God, dear God. Yeah. So I'm Enric Rhoades, proud indie filmmaking entrepreneur, producer, director, writer, editor, cinematographer, drone pilot, you name it.
You do
Uh,
everything.
yeah, pretty much the man with many hats. Uh, I am the proud director of Krackers, the Sadist of Pennsville. That will be out for streaming in about a week from now on the 11th. And yeah, right above me over there is my inspiration, Catriona McCall, getting her head chopped off, and Lucio Fulci's sleeper hit, in my opinion, The Beyond from the early 80s. So, yeah, what better can you get than that?
Love it. So, Enric, why horror? You could pick any other genre, but why horror?
Horror for me, well, basically, obviously, the love of films that really speak to me, ideally the classics like Sam Raimi's The Original Evil Dead and the works of, Lucio Fulci's
Yes.
Beyond. Nosferatu, really speaks to me as well too.
Which one? The F.W.
Oh
Murnau
no!
or
Oh, the original one.
yes.
Oh, Max Schreck's obviously.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Oh, oh,
You don't
oh.
like Robert Eggers?
Murnau's one is absolutely superb in my opinion. I've seen his the 1979 version, but no, Murnau's always has a special place in my heart. Believe me.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so there's that as well, and many others too, but focusing specifically on the classics, and also that love for that raw visual look that those sort of classics bring to the table, that contributes ultimately to German expressionism, like Nosferatu,
Yes.
the Italian Giallo works like Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento's. I really love Argento's Suspiria. I thought Jessica Harper did a banger job in that. Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, obviously, but many other Lucio Fulci pictures like Zombie,
Hmm.
City of the Living Dead. Um, yeah, and there's just many others too. A House by the Cemetery,
Yes.
The Black Cat, Fulci's adaptation from Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat, even though that's not Fulci's top film and it's very, very outdated. It's not really, no one really talks about it or sees it anymore, but I sometimes
Except
watch it,
you.
except for me. Yeah. So I'm very, very scarce within that, underground world of horror, Celia. So I'm just really, really like down the earth below, as in, AKA, that's why they call it underground, you
Yes.
know. So yeah, I'm all into that kind of stuff when it comes to horror. But yeah, let's see. Of course, German Expressionism, the Italian Giallo horror works. Oh, and of course, the eerie vibes for what exactly which type of music in a horror film can bring to the table. Of course, particularly the cello for me, which you've heard, of course, in
Yes, I did.
Krackers. Obviously, yeah, just all strings. And obviously, you've seen The Evil Dead before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yes. Because even in Joe LaDuca's soundtrack for that film, you'll hear a whole bunch of cello and strings and other cool kinds of synthesizers to that extent in there as well, too. Believe it
Yes.
or not. So yeah.
Speaking of the Evil Dead, it's funny you bring that up. Back in October, I actually went to Evil Dead in concert, and they had a little like strings quartet and a few other instruments like drums and things playing the soundtrack to the Evil Dead. We got to see it on screen with a live band, essentially.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and
Based on my show, yeah.
I actually got to uh, interview Joe LaDuca
Really?
about his music. Yes,
Oh,
and
lucky
fun.
you.
I know, and funny. I didn't meet him in person. It was all like online, written.
Yeah,
So
like
I
this.
wish. Oh yes, yes. But it's funny because a couple weeks ago, I I again got to interview the composers for Evil Dead Burn.
Mm,
So it was fun seeing those two, being able to see, okay, what inspired the newer films, drawing off of Joe LaDuca's music, and it was just a fun time. So it's fun that you bring up Evil Dead
wow.
specifically
The
music wise.
composers for the new Evil Dead Burn movie you were able to
Yes.
interview. Oh, great. Now I feel like I'm something. Oh, boy.
Oh no.
Okay. Now I got a whole different perspective on this whole podcast now. Oh,
Oh
boy. That's
no,
great.
I'm still small time. I'm small time.
Uh, now that you just mentioned that, I mean, hey, yeah, that's a pretty big wow factor right there. Wow.
It is, but most of the time I'm not doing that. I'm speaking with indie people like you. I mean, we were talking before I press record about how I love indie films just in general, indie horror in general. Yeah, a lot more than I do the major big studio Hollywood ones. Those are
Like
fine, but
Obsession,
like Obsession, and those are all
like
fine and well.
Backrooms.
Yes. But it's the indie ones that are really like, ooh, that was such a great story. You can feel the heart and the love that it comes through the screen at you. So for me, it's not about Joe LaDuca. It's not about, the composers. It's not about whoever else. It's about people like you.
Yeah, and I'm hopefully, I'm glad that you may have felt that love with Crackers a bit, even though, it's more of like a schlocky absurdist kind of story a bit here and
Those are
there.
great though.
But you can feel the heart, especially in the end,
Yes.
after Christine saves Jessica and etc. After they kill me off and everything near the end. Sorry to be spoiling the plot for any of you knuckleheads that haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it definitely speaks for itself. There's no doubt about it.
Let's get right into it with the making of Crackers. Enric, tell me what is the story here? What is Crackers about?
So if I were to describe the story to Crackers in 10 to 11 words, basically an enticingly gruesome but whimsical story of sadistic chemistry and sheer madness.
Now, why
Yeah,
why
just
go
try to pack that all in.
why go the mad scientist route? I mean, we don't really see that too much anymore, but Crackers is. He's a mad scientist. And a chemist
Yeah,
at that. Why chemistry? Do you like chemistry? Are
yeah.
you from that world or what?
I mean, technically, I went to school at Temple University, and I would have access to their chemistry lab and everything over at Beery Hall. And especially for our promo film that we did, the Evil John Crackers, that you can easily find on YouTube, which has also surpassed 1,000 views now since it was uploaded about a year ago. Uh, I had a lot of good resources, and I had access to their lab department, and my friends and I, aka my fellow, DPs and cinematographers, we actually had access to shoot a lot of those shots of me as Crackers in the lab on set there, with the right permission and
Right.
everything to do what we had to do, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think chemistry is I don't know. I think to create a character with that kind of knack and that kind of niche and everything, I don't know. I think it's rather distinctive.
It
I know, of
is.
course, obviously, I'm not the only evil sadistic chemist. Like the Reanimator, there's him as well. But yeah, just a calling card for vengeance and madness. That's all I wanted to incorporate with it. And hey, I'm just really, really glad that I was able to pull it off too.
Yeah,
Because
you
I
did.
because I felt like that out of all the performances in this film, I definitely felt that obviously me as the man himself, Krackers, was obviously the most adored, the most beloved, and definitely the most energized. There's no
Yes,
doubt about it.
there
Which it
definitely
should be,
was an
obviously.
energy.
Yes, as it should be. The lead character of the entire film, let alone his name being the title of
Right.
the film, has to be obviously, the breadwinner, obviously. He has to be, the main center of attention. So, which is what I'm really, really glad that it was just beautifully unhinged for a lot of viewers. In a bit of a terrifying way, but mostly in a rather whimsical way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Terrifying, whimsical, unhinged. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I did watch Crackers, obviously, because we're talking about it now. And by the time this video comes out, my review will be on letstalkterror.com. So everyone out there, go read it if you haven't already. And I mentioned in the review that one of the things that I really liked, and I wasn't expecting this at all, was that,
Hmm.
we're getting third person views of everything that's happening on screen, right?
Yeah.
At certain points of the film, certain high energy points where, John Crackers is like doing crazy stuff, the screen shifts to like these red
Oh yeah.
like
Yep. The
drawings.
red impact frames,
Yes, and
like
I
like what
wasn't
you would,
expecting that. It was
yeah, like what you
great.
would see, yeah, like what you would see in those anime kinds of films or
Yeah.
or TV shows. It's like something just so beyond the norm, different that you're like, oh, what the fuck is this? So, I just wanted to go with that kind of just bizarre, berserk, just boom, like wow, like especially synchronizing quite beautifully with the music, also too.
Yes, yes, it definitely did. And it was almost like they were still frames, but they were still like moving in a way. So it didn't stop action at all. It like kept going.
Yeah.
I really like how you did that. Where did the idea come from? Did it just like pop into your head one
Oh,
day or
it
did
did
you?
pop in my head, but yeah, my graphic design artist Joel, shout out to my graphic design artist Joel Thompson, who I also met from Temple, also too, who goes to Temple as well too. His this is their junior year, so shout
Oh,
out to them.
awesome.
And of course, they are still working with me for the sequel for what we plan to do and
Awesome.
everything. Still, maybe some more red impact frames, or maybe another kind of different color of an impact frame. Who knows? But yeah, yeah, it was just so gruesomely satisfying and just so distinctive that I was able to incorporate that for such a sheer rapid moment like that, just beyond
Yeah,
the norm, out of nowhere, you know? Because in every single film that I see, that's something that you've never seen before in an
right.
actual film, whether it's Hollywood or indie, like this one is. Like, you've just never seen anything like that before, you
Right.
know?
And it
It's like,
sticks out for
yeah,
sure.
it's like I would say, like, okay, the acting and the dialogue was decent. It was okay. But the music and the visuals and the imagery, I would say that they were definitely great. I would say the pacing was, solid too. The pacing was okay. The pacing was solid. I would say the pacing was actually pretty, pretty darn good. Not exactly great, but maybe like pretty darn good, like right between the middle, between bad and then great.
You
I would say
gotta
the
hype
pacing
yourself up.
was
Say,
like right in
my
the
movie
middle.
was the best. It was fantastic. Nothing is wrong
Oh, a
with
lot
it.
of people are saying that, Celia. A lot of people are,
Which
believe
means
me.
you get to as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, while looking at some of, things that could have been a bit better, especially if we weren't always, on a time crunch with Penhurst, which I'm pretty sure we'll get into later on.
So, Penhurst, tell us about Penhurst because, again, this is something that I wrote about in my review, which you haven't read yet, but I wrote about this in my review as well. It's like that building is so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's its own character. It's just the hallways are endless and it's haunted. I can feel the haunt through the screen.
Yes.
How did you get the opportunity to film there? Like, do you have to? I'm guessing you have to get permits there too, or did you guys like rogue style, just like sneak in?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you can feel the haunt because the haunt should
Yeah.
be proud and alive within all of us.
Yes.
uh, yeah. So basically, I had a local contact in my hometown of Ridley Park, which I am not inflicting with any virus, by the way.
Not
uh,
this time.
Not this time. Nope, not this time. Well, maybe. No, no, no.
Maybe
I
in the
don't want to say that.
sequel.
Yeah, maybe in the sequel, but not this time nor ever. Only in Springtown, obviously. But yeah, from a local contact here in town that had a connection with Penhurst who used to work there. That's how I was able to, you know, get the connections that I needed to connect with the owners and with the operations manager over there to make this film. But without a doubt, time crunch and getting these things done on set, on time, and etc., along with some of the complications that we had to endure on set over at the asylum, was it was pretty nerve-wracking at times, especially with actors also
Yeah.
backing out at the last second, and then we had to find someone that was able to pitch in for us to take over their role and everything, along with a lot of the limited resources that we had, you know, to our leisure to make our shoot more lenient and convenient, you know.
Now, you mentioned limited resources. Everyone knows that indie horror a lot of times doesn't work on a very big budget. I read somewhere that you guys had what, $25,000? That was
Mm-hmm.
your budget?
Yep,
Well,
25
that's not a
grand.
lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but you know what? Well, I mean, listen, Curry Barker started off with only $800 with his friend, who was also in Obsession, who played as Ian. What was his name? Cooper Thompson, something like that. And they only had $800 to make Milk and Cereal, which they posted on YouTube, and that got a lot of publicity, which ultimately led them to making a more prestigious kind of horror film known as, obviously, now Obsession.
Right.
So that's kind of how I see myself with Krackers, at least this first one, the first installment to my franchise for the Sadist of Pennsville as of right now. But again, I do plan to expand that into a more larger medium, within the scope of horror and indie filmmaking. And comedy too, obviously. So, yeah, yeah, I would
How do you
say
stretch
sure.
that amount of money?
So with the 25 grand budget in particularly for the first film, we had to work in very creative ways.
Tell me about it.
For instance, like we made a negotiable deal, like an agreement, which wasn't exactly in the contract, but we had to, not exactly cut corners, but we had to inform our performers that after I was running out of money to pay off for the insurance, pay off for the site over at Penhurst for the night shoots and for the day shoots. I had to pay off for the food, I had to pay off for the car, I had to pay off for this, I had to pay off for that. So we had a very reasonable negotiable agreement where after a certain amount of hours, because it was about 125 bucks per hour for each of these actors.
Mm.
So eventually, after a certain amount of time, we, cut it down to only 50 bucks per hour, so then
You
I
got to
could
do
have
what you got to do.
exactly. And everyone understood. They knew exactly where I was coming from.
Yeah.
This was clearly no picnic for no one because this was everyone's first feature. So, cutting down the cost for their compensation to meet our necessary budget for other expenses that we had to pay off for our shoot, I felt was very necessary. Just being a little bit more frugal with my
Yeah.
money, I guess. Uh, Not always, diddle daddling around with it, to the best of my ability. So I can, pay off like some other things like the equipment, and the lights and the camera, and I mean, just to put the cash hold daily deposit actually for the equipment was like 4,565, and I had to call my bank and everything just
Oof.
for the insurance for the film equipment. And then, of course, the rental itself was like only like $800. It was like almost around like 900, really. But yeah, just to put the cash hold daily deposit limit for that equipment when I was renting it out from the camera renting facility was like and almost like an astronomical amount of money just for, putting down the cash hold daily deposit. So God and boy am I lucky that this film turned out damn good because it
Hey,
really did.
you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And you know what? You did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
Are there any scenes in Crackers that you're especially proud of?
I am especially proud of obviously, oh God, where do I even begin? And people can tell, listen, Celia, people can tell that this film is a, kind of like a, because even my own mother described it as, Enric, this film looks like, you know, I have to admit, Enric, this was her exact words. Enric, for a newbie, it looks like that it was done by a pro.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, okay, obviously with, some of the dialogue, the acting here and there from the other characters, even a bit with mine, okay, I understand there were flaws in that. There were some other little flaws that you may have saw in the
No
film.
movie is perfect. Literally,
Exactly.
no movie is perfect.
I know, not even The Godfather. Well,
Not even.
well, well, okay, maybe just a little bit for The Godfather. But other than that, I mean, no. I mean, do you know how many mistakes and many flaws there are like in The Beyond, like in, The Evil Dead 2, Army of
Yep.
Darkness, Evil Dead Burn, Evil Dead Rise, the remake for The Evil Dead. Like, do you know how many mistakes there are in those films, all the flaws and
A
everything?
ton. A
it,
ton.
it's normal. But no, I would say my most proudest moment in Cracks would have to be, uh, I guess, the moment where Christine's dad gets killed off, and the and you know what the best thing is that he's a friend of mine from my library that I'm that that's in my hometown and everything here in Ridley Park. And I was like, hey grandpa, do you want to do me a favor? Oh yeah, sure, Biggie,
You
what's
want to
up?
die in my movie?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he was like, I don't know, Biggie. I don't know if I'm in a position to do that. Let me get back to you on that. And I was like, okay, Grandpa, sure, go ahead. Then about a week or two later, we it took a bit of convincing to really, to get him really involved in it. But after some hours of convincing, he was like, okay, Biggie, just as long as this young girl, Tara, the lead actress, Christine, doesn't put her hands on me or anything like that. Because originally, besides the sickle, from Christine's, doppelganger in the film, beside, he wasn't supposed to get killed off just from the back, from a
Mm.
sickle stab in the back. It was supposed to be, Christine's doppelganger grabs his head and then
Ah,
and
okay.
then just cracks the head, cracks his neck, kind of like a good old whiplash kind of feeling, like whiplash action, and then he just falls flat dead on the ground. And then she delivers her infamous line, which is, "Can't blame Margaret for wanting him dead," blah, 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 blah. And then I had to deep out the audio a bit, turn down the decibel levels to make it sound deep with the bass and everything, which, yeah. But yeah, Celia, what exactly, if I may ask, what exactly was your favorite moment from the film?
My favorite moment is actually very subtle, and it's not even a favorite moment, it's a favorite person. I really liked Francis. I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay.
He was just
Miles.
so funny to me because he's just like, the character Christine is just kind of like, oh, we gotta get out of here and we gotta search
Yeah,
for
I
Pauletta.
remember.
And
And
Francis is just,
this is a really, really great, funny story. He mentioned so when we went out to eat after we were done shooting the infamous me and Pauletta, AKA May, when we were at the restaurant after we shot that sequence where me and Pauletta kill Francis in the asylum after he takes the stuffed animal from the bed and
Mhm.
everything, right before we cut to Christine's doppelganger chasing after Christine. So we're at the restaurant and we're eating everything. We're having a good time, sharing some laughs, blah 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 blah. And then there's one thing, and we were talking about the film and who's going to be dying first and everything. And I'm like, oh, Francis, or excuse me,
I
oh
see
yeah,
where this is going.
exactly. You know exactly where this is going, Celia. Good. And I was like, yeah, Miles. I meant to say Miles, not his character name. Bleh. I was like, yeah, Miles. You're the one that's gonna get killed off first, right? And then he was like, Enric, I'm gonna get killed off first, huh? I'm like, yeah, of course. Even Tara, even she was oblivious to the fact that what's wrong with that, Miles? I don't get it. Even she was looking at him like, why is that a problem? And then Miles finally just spit it out. He was like, uh, well,
Because I'm
Enric,
black.
exactly. You do realize that, a black guy, when they see a black guy in a horror movie, the audience is going to assume that they get killed first, right? And I was like, shit. And even Tara was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
To be
Oh my
fair,
god.
his
Yeah. I did not see that coming. Oh my goodness. I did not know that.
yeah,
Oh my.
I mean,
So,
Francis is going in here just, not a care in the world. It's like, well, yeah, you're gonna die because you're not
yeah, just trying to look for the owner of the establishment and
right.
everything, trying to find help and everything, etc. But yeah, it was funny. So we came up with the idea where, okay, we'll have my no, not my doppelganger. We'll have my court jester. A court jester is like, say Salacious Crumb from Jabba the Hutt, from
Mhm.
Star Wars, like a little, you know, evil pet that you have that's kind of like an entertaining kind of, pet for like entertainment purposes, you know, that I had, which was Emily, you
Yes.
know. So it was funny that night. It was on our last night shoot too, our very last shooting day in general too, which was that night shoot it was on a Tuesday in mid-June back at Penhurst 2 years ago. And then after the talk and everything that Miles and I had, we were like, okay, cool. I'm going to make sure that no one is African American when they get killed off for the first time. Okay, great. So then when I met Emily and she was all in the makeup and everything, and with a bit of my social awkwardness that I have at times, even though it turned out to be absolutely hysterical to everyone and everyone was laughing their asses off, I just abruptly asked her, okay, great. So we're all set with this and with that and da 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 with the makeup and everything for you to get killed off first and everything. Okay, great. I just have one question. you're obviously white, right?
Just so we're
And
clear, you're
yes,
white,
and
right?
then everybody was like, yeah, Miles was there for that moment. Uh, his mom was there because she helped out volunteer for us and everything. She helped out. Autumn, the operation manager's daughter, was there for that night shoot. Like everyone was just laughing their asses off after I asked that question because I just had to make sure, you know, I just had to make sure
You can
that
never
it
be
was
too
legit.
sure.
Can't be too sure, but I had to make sure that everything was legit, obviously, with that, you know?
So for people who have not seen Crackers, if you had to convince them with one sentence to watch, what would you tell them?
I would say when you described me, what Crackers is like in a few words from earlier, basically the icebreaker. You know, as I mentioned before, an enticingly gruesome but rather whimsical story of sadistic chemistry and sheer madness, and also vengeance on my hometown for
Yes.
how they treated me and how they looked down on Crackers as well too. Now
Yes.
maybe I can turn that into a bit of a mini series, but again, if this really, really, really goes somewhere, that would be great. But if not, then I'm just sticking with what I'm doing for the sequel. You know,
That's a very good segue because now we can talk about looking ahead. But before we get to the actual sequel part, is there anything that you learned from Crackers that you'll for sure like do in future projects?
I would say obviously with the dialogue, the acting, that's going to be more polished up. Uh, Having a more broader expectation on how this is going to turn out versus just having that feeling of trepidation where I'm like, okay, oh gosh, like not feeling so stressed out and not letting the anxiety level just,
Right.
just skyrocket. You don't want to turn that on too hard on the stovetop. You want to turn that down a bit. Try to reduce the amount of sizzle that you're trying to, get as you're cooking your Leon steak.
Right.
You know, in terms of post production, and I'm even going to use this as a good subliminal message for the sequel as well too, for all of you indie filmmakers, not just for horror, but just in general too, for your editing, for the post production. No matter what software you use, no matter which one you use, whether it's Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci, what's the other one? Final Cut, Pro Cut, whatever. Make sure you have the time base to your sequence line matched correctly with the frame rate of each footage. So, for instance, if your footage is in, obviously, for all cinema, the standard, the typical 24.00 FPS, frames per second, make sure that your timeline within your time base in your sequence settings for your software for that particular project is set to that exact same frame rate. Not 23.9760 FPS and not 25.00 FPS. I mean the firm 24.00 FPS. Because what happened was when you drag pieces of footage in there into your time base, it takes, the frame rate. But then I had some drone footage that was
Mm,
shot in another. I think you know where I'm going with this, Celia. So
yeah.
I had other pieces of footage that was shot at a different frame rate that was inconsistent with the 24 FPS
Yeah.
from the standard camera footage that was in 29.97, even 30.00 frames per second that I would drag into the sequence line, into the time base in my sequence settings, and then Premiere Pro would take that FPS, that frame rate, the highest one, and they would embed that into
Oh,
the into the software. And so then, because little did I know that it was a bit glitchy. I mean, it only took me like about a few months later for my guy, Rick Lombardi, shout out to him too, our Arisen Media. And he's also the one who was behind, some other great things for me too, especially a good interview that he did for me and Tara. That's on the Film Masters YouTube channel for Krackers as well too. But he looked at the footage, the film, and he was even like, Enric, this is I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is just, this is choppy as hell. Like what the hell's going on here? Like, like instead of like, so for instance, like if someone's doing like a Jedi mind trick, a rather sinister Jedi mind trick, like let's say Emperor Palpatine or Count Dooku or Dooku or whatever, and then they're doing this with their hand instead of this being all smooth and uniform. Now, when you have it set to the wrong frame rate in this choppy up version, it's going to
Oh,
be,
yeah.
you know, it's going to be like that. So then I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, let me just create a whole new project and let me just do this and do that because some things happened and I lost the original project because, I did everything all at once. Oh, and that's another thing too. Now that we're on the topic of what I'm going to do differently for the sequel and for my future endeavors
Yes.
for whichever film project that I do not edit everything all at once. Do not have basically what I'm saying, Celia, is don't edit every single little thing for your film all at once. Like, don't have all your clips, don't have all the audio, don't have all the music, don't have all of the video clips, don't have all of your dialogue audio that you captured on set, and don't have all your music soundtracks, don't have all your sound effects soundtracks all going on at once simultaneously, because then eventually the project in your software is going to crash like it kind of did for me. But luckily, I had a spare copy of the audio from my composer that I was able to salvage and use to fix everything up in time.
What would you recommend going like sequence by sequence?
Oh. So what I would recommend, obviously, just focus on getting the whole film put together first with the audio that you captured on set. Export that project into a new file, exported, then insert that file into a new Premiere Pro project, and then add the music soundtrack. Then export that and then put that into another Premiere Pro project and then add your sound effects soundtrack. Then export that and then just add whatever else you want to add. Don't have everything all going at once simultaneously, because then the software, number one, it's going to take forever for it to replay and for you to rewatch it. And number two, it might crash on you like it did for me. So, because it's almost like making a cake.
Yeah.
Like once you have, the frosting, no, not exactly the frosting yet, excuse me. Like once you have like, the cake, the main batter, the eggs, the flour, the sugar, you name it, and then you put it on the cake pan and then you put it in the oven, boom. And then once you take that out, there you go. That's basically the movie. It's already been exported. That cake has already been exported. Now, in terms of the frosting, putting the frosting or, the icing on top of the cake, that's basically putting the film into a whole new Premiere Pro project file and adding the music soundtrack and then exporting that out and then adding the sound effects soundtrack and etc. Just repeating that same kind of cycle, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Solid advice.
Oh, and another big one too. Making sure that you clean not only the lens, but the sensor to your camera. Luckily, the battery life, because we had two batteries for the camera that we used. Shout out to the Sony A7S III camera from my boy Jake Reiner, my main DP over in Harrisburg. shout out to him. Love you, bro, obviously. Uh, Big contributor to the film and everything, especially for that beautiful opening shot with the camera tracking up the
Yes.
steps and everything. Shout out to him as well too. Make sure that not only the lens but the sensor to your camera is properly cleaned, or else you're going to have like these little annoying dust spots that are
Mm,
on the lens of the camera that's kind of going to follow. That's going to, which is no different than waking up in the morning and then there's like sleepies in my eyes.
yes.
And yeah, that is not professional, nor does it look very convincing at all for a film. It just shows how extremely amateur it is. I mean, listen, this film is already amateur enough, but
You
to
don't need
have,
to add to that.
yeah, we don't need to add, the old gasoline on top of the fire, if you know what I mean, by having a dirty lens and dirty sensor to the camera, obviously, because you know how the dust absorbed into the lens of the camera and everything, right? If not the sensor also too. So remember when Maya, aka Jessica, the missing girl, when I barged into their room that I locked them up in, and I was like, "How many times do I have to tell you?" And then she knocked me down with that spray can that was in the
Yes.
closet right behind my neck and everything. Then the shot where I get up, which by the way, you see a beautiful vein shot from me too. You can see the veins popping out, bulging out from the baldness of my head as I'm trying to get up from the floor and everything from the ground. When I clap my hand onto the ground when I first get up, when I slap my hand on the ground on the floor in that room when I first got up, the dust literally rose from the ground and then it just went right into, you can't really see it, but it just went right into the lens of the camera. And that's how some of those dust particles absorb into the sensor as well too. Little to my surprise. So now I know to be more on top of that.
Yes. Got some nice behind the scenes stories here.
Oh, oh, I could tell you a million more of them, but unfortunately, I think we have to move on.
Yes. Now, Enric, tell me about the sequel. Do you have a story already or what's up?
So, yeah, so the story is basically going to be following, of course, what's going to happen now with not just Christine and Jessica with their feature film project, whether it goes smoothly or not for them, but also the community outbreak of Kraz 25. Pauletta is not, gone yet.
Right.
Krackers is unfortunately gone, but maybe not exactly gone yet. I mean, he's dead. Don't get me wrong. He's dead. He's not coming back to life. He's done. But maybe as, I don't know, maybe as a I don't know, like a subsequent potential premonition of Pauletta's, a a bad port of authority figure of her imagination. Maybe he
Okay.
comes back. I don't know. Um, so that's what I'm working into the sequel as well too. But we're definitely going to be diving into some new, interesting, really, really funny, good characters, like the intolerable yet whimsical Sansom Sadler, who is mentioned. He's mentioned in the first one, the film that everyone has seen so far. Well, mostly, uh, but we don't see him. He's just a cohort of Al Sharpton, who's the security chief,
Yes.
who we saw from the first film, but he's mentioned by me, who he's talking to through his walkie-talkie, but we don't see him exactly yet
Right.
because I'm trying to come up with a story where they lose the Pennsville property and they have to sell it, and then they get this other abandoned, real rundown shithole, and then they have to deal with that instead, you know. And then maybe there's a bit of a hidden talent that maybe Sadler's granddaughter has, that one of the filmmakers tries to help her out with, especially with some family issues that are going on within her unhealthy, dynamic within her family and everything. But again, that's all for the sequel. I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, basically focusing on the outbreak of the virus, obviously, and diving into more of the characters as well too, and even introducing some new ones and their abilities as well.
Well, Enric, I for one will be excited to see where this goes. But until then, if you could, now's your promo time. Tell the audience where can you find Krackers, where can we find you? I will leave the links in the description as well, but
Absolutely, Celia.
any
Yeah.
any last things about Krackers?
Absolutely. So you can check out Krackers now on YouTube under the Film Masters YouTube channel. It will be up until the 11th this month once it hits Fawesome, and hopefully still on platforms like Tubi, Pluto TV, Arrow Player, which is in conjunction with Arrow Video, the Arrow Video channel, in other words, Bloodstream TV, Night Flight TV, I believe it's Night Flight Plus, excuse me, and Hoopla also too. So we're basically starting out with more of the smaller platforms, even though I think Tubi for something like this is absolutely perfect. I really do, because Tubi, I hear, they are desperate for indie horror films right now, you know. And I also think, especially with, how society is today, and how, AI is taking over jobs and everything and all that. Yeah, I mean, I just really, really think that this, that this whole, what's going on within the horror community and all these YouTubers, you know, inevitably making these great pieces of work and everything, and just, posting them on YouTube or anywhere just in general, even if it's on like social media like Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I think the horror community, especially whether it's independent or especially if it's, Hollywood based, but again, for me it'll always be independent, because that's the grassroots of where it started from. I think it's a really, really good, favorable venture right now, is especially with, what we have to, go through sometimes and deal with in this country, especially with, like the financial crisis a bit, inflation here and there, with things. So, but again, I haven't actually made any profit yet, only from the limited theatrical release that we had for the film back at the Oak Center Cinema last October. Uh, but yeah, I'm not expecting any big, high expectations for this film. Yeah, so definitely YouTube for now, under the Film Masters YouTube channel. We're almost there to 2,000 views right before it gets taken down, and then everyone can check it out on streaming. Of course, it'll also be out for, for its physical media release. We're talking like 4Ks, Blu-rays, DVDs, you name it. Maybe an exclusive box set full of rotten, stale Johnny Crackers for all them haters out there that will just leave on their doorsteps and everything. Again, you never know. But yeah, I would say that this is definitely, yeah, I would say that Crackers is without a doubt a very vitally important film that I think once it really, really gets out there, and hopefully, and just maybe, it could be not exactly a critically acclaimed mainstream success like the big boys, like obviously, Obsession, Backrooms, and I don't need to be. I'm not aiming to be a millionaire. I'm just aiming to unleash the inner artist within me with my work. And I'm pretty sure Catriona McCall would say the same thing as well, too.
And that concludes our interview. A huge thank you to Enric for giving us a behind the scenes look at Krackers, the Sadist of Pennsville. And I don't know about you, but it's always really nice to see how someone can turn so much passion and love for the genre into a feature movie. So if you are interested in learning more about Krackers yourself, check the description. I'll leave all of the links below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and support indie horror. And until next time, stay spooky.